We've just had a wonderful breakfast. We had a great turn up for the breakfast. We had a very considered argument from Bill Shrapnel around sugar content and the whole grain argument as to whether they are evidence-based. And hopefully the breakfast has got dietitians thinking, maybe re-evaluating what their thoughts are, and maybe for some of it may well have just reinforced their own personal views about the issues surrounding sugar and whole grains and fibre.
Especially in relation to sugar, we've got a history of making recommendations, but there hasn't been a high degree of scientific evidence behind it, and we've really got to look at that. If we can't demonstrate an adverse effect, why do we focus on the sugar content at all? Would we be better off focusing on criteria like its nutrient density or its fibre content?
Digestive health problems in children are extraordinarily common. We would expect about 10 to 15% of adults to complain of problems, but now 40% of children have constipation, pain, diarrhoea that we would presume is irritable bowel syndrome, and we think relates to lack of fibre. That in younger children only about 10% eat a high fibre cereal every day. In older children it's a bit better, but far less than we would like.
Fiber intakes across the globe are about half recommended level, so we don't really see any populations where people are eating enough, and this is true for all ages, so adults and kids, about half of what they need. So there's a big fiber gap that we need to fill. Yes, cereal fiber is the strongest support we have for protective effects of fiber. So when we look at what's most protective, cereal fiber in studies, whether it's cardiovascular disease, obesity, is the most protective. So we really want to encourage cereal fiber intake because there's going to be some benefits, physiological benefits for gut health, heart disease, and obesity. When we look at shortfall nutrients, fiber and calcium, vitamin D are all things we don't get enough of. So probably the easiest way is if we have cereal for breakfast, higher fiber cereals with milk, best way to start off. And then throughout the day, just whenever there's a choice, go for the higher fiber choice. So more whole grain breads with grain fiber, fruits, vegetables, and legumes.
I'd love people to be, for us as a profession, to be more positive, but also for the public to lock into more positive messages about nutrition and health and eating.